Mhm.
that are interested in either doing this course or
Mhm.
at least popping in to engage in heaven discussions to
Mhm.
see what it's about. So I've got about 3 people lined up. So who
Awesome.
knows?
That's fun. Very cool. Yeah, because the next semester we'll be doing the 101 again. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, so that'll be
Cool. That's fun.
good.
Well,
How
shall
are you,
we
Christine?
engage the classroom together?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. Okay, can you focus back? Lee, you're awake. Good job. Okay, so can you tell me, did you experience anything you'd like to share?
Oh yeah. It's how do I say? It started with like a lot of gems being given to us, like all even like gems that are very colorful, and we're walking on it, and then even receiving some. I saw Pearl like receiving some hat with some gems on it, and then it was how do I say? I feel it's like festive, and I also heard the word gifts, and I also heard the word like nurturing, and like something somehow related to our own gifts. Um, the gifts that we have, expanding it. I'm just getting that, and then I would see this, yeah, like in the I don't know how they're called. Like I saw Yeshua really came, and like he's doing this stuff, and then there's like rubber bands. I don't know how there's like he's doing that. You know when you play rubber bands back then, but then it's like he's explaining something to me that I haven't really digested what it's about. So I don't know if it's related to the class, like some sort of mystery, I guess. So yeah.
That's
So
cool.
far that's what I can remember because I kind of fell asleep, and then I kind of woke up and engaged again, and then I saw like with a lot of colors, like just a lot of festivity kind of things that I'm seeing, very colorful stuff, and like yeah, and all these gems. Just I don't know why the gems. So yeah,
That's
so far that's what I'm getting.
cool.
Well, I saw the walls, light color walls, but on the walls there were pink paper heart shapes. And the color pink was similar to Glee's pillowcase. Looking at it, I can just see, yeah. So oh, amen.
That's cute.
A very light pink. So there are lots of pink hearts cut out and stuck on the walls. And then I saw the walls started to move closer together. So the impression wasn't like a crushing, frightening environment. I just sensed the Lord when I said, "Why are you, doing this?" I just sense Him saying, "It's to kind of like bring us closer together." And it is similar to if you build a house and you have like a snug or like a nook, it's a cozy area where just the whole environment in that room just makes it so conducive to everyone in there just being more in an intimate place.
That's awesome.
And then I looked, and at the front of the classroom, I saw Christine, and it's like you wearing like a crown, but the whatever the outfit you were wearing were like different colors, like with red and black, and all different colors in your outfit. So that's it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I have a question for you. Do you guys remember um our lesson from last time we did spiritual mothers and fathers? Do you remember this?
I don't remember all of it. I tried finding it online, but I couldn't find it. And I started listening to a bit from the 30 from a class you did some time ago.
Okay.
But no, I wouldn't say I remember all of it, but then I do have a question to ask about that as well.
Okay. Well, why don't you ask about it?
Okay, so in trying to bring people into my heart and pray for people, I realized that there is a blockage there, which I'm going to need help with. So there is like a subconscious spiritual resistance to that. And I have a feeling it's based on when I was under the old system and the religious system about you should only focus on the Lord. There should be no angels. There shouldn't be no, yeah, just you can't be focusing on people because you transfer from people to such like. So I am finding it hard to actually bring people into my heart. And yeah, but apart from that, in terms of mothering, the Lord has shown me three people at least that I need to mother. And it's about, yet again, I don't feel that I can bring them into my heart in order to do that properly. So that is the question I would need to ask her today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, let me ask you this. Do you, these people, these three people that you know you're supposed to mother, um, do you feel like a mother to them?
I would say more, I want to say more of a sister than a mother. And with at least my boys, I wasn't sure whether or not um, I could mother someone who is not a Christian. But the two ladies that I have, they are Christians and they are new Christians.
Okay.
So that's why I said they feel more like a sister. And I have never heard of the word mothering before our session. So I'm still working that through.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask this. If you feel more like a sister, I'm just wondering, like, the amount of, this might sound silly, but kind of where is your love with them? Because I mean, if I said, do you love them? You'd be like, of course I do, right? Of course. I know that. But there are different kinds of love. And there is this agape love that is, I would say, especially for those we're called to mentor, it seems easy. Then there's this family kind of love that you have probably with your sons, I would guess. That's easy for you to feel for them, but is it easy for you to feel that kind of family kind of love toward your people you're supposed to mother? You know what I mean? Because I would say probably, but I don't know this for sure. You might feel that family kind of love toward me. Um, I feel that, toward you. For me, it's easy to bring people into my heart when I can focus on my love for them. And if I can focus on, it's like almost I surround them with my love, is what it feels like. It's much harder to engage over someone that you don't have that kind of feeling for. Um, and I don't just mean like emotions necessarily, but like for instance, uh, Patricia was asking for prayers for her brother's girlfriend's son. Okay. That is very hard for me to focus in on Patricia's brother's girlfriend's son. All right. Because I don't have that kind of connection at all. So only can I do that if the Lord leads me to. But it is not something that I literally can't focus on him because I don't know what he looks like. I don't know what he feels like. I don't know what he seems like. There's like nothing that I know of him. And so I have a very hard time brooding over him in any way, unless the Lord just shows him to me. You know what I mean? And then I know I'm supposed to. But most of the time, and I don't usually say this to people, especially when they're hurting like that, but I'm not going to be like, so Patricia, I'm not praying for him. I'm not going to say that. But at the same time, I will, ask the Lord to show him to me if it's his will. But that's not someone that's easy for me to do. So if it's someone that's not easy for you, it could be that even those people aren't easy for you to focus on. I don't know. Just ask Yeshua to do it through you. So you're really wanting to be one with Yeshua. And then in his oneness, engage over the other people. You know what I mean? And it really should be like this with everyone. So because I know you still are kind of, I'm not going to say stuck. I don't think you're stuck, but you are at least still functioning in the old system a lot. Okay. You're kind of forced to because you go to church and stuff like that. Right. So, not saying there's anything bad about it. I'm just saying that's the
Totally get
reality.
it.
Yes.
Yes.
Because of that, you will still be tempted all the time to pray for everybody and do it from a way that is in your mind and not really connecting at all, which, to be honest, is quite fruitless. It's not going to be helpful. When you do that, you're almost just people pleasing when you're doing that. Even if you might be pleasing yourself because of old ways too. I mean, I don't know. Um, I know that this has been my temptation. I'm only saying this because I've walked right in your shoes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember being the one everyone would come to for prayer. And then I started engaging, and it's like I was trying to fake it kind of. I'm doing it, but I'm not really in it because it's not the same. And I'm trying, but I'm really just pleasing other people. But what happens is you're missing the oneness. And that is the key to everything. It
Yeah.
really is. If you aren't functioning in the oneness, you will have no fruit. That's why you don't see miracles happen, is when you're not functioning in the oneness. You'll see miracles happen when you feel Yeshua or Holy Spirit working through you. And it is because you are one with him, doing it with him, in him, and then becoming one with that person. I know for me, when I heal people, it's the most obvious. I either feel it or I don't feel it. You know what I mean? When I feel it, it happens every time. I can feel him and I can feel them. And but I'm a feeler too. So I'm not saying everyone will function like that. But for me, I know for sure when they're getting healed because of that. If I don't feel anything, I'm like, well, hope something happens someday. You know, that's kind of how it is because you don't actually have that knowing and confidence that it's happening. And so again, I guess the main point in when you are engaging over anybody, and especially I would say if you are supposed to mother someone, you probably are supposed to focus on them often, maybe daily. And when you do, just ask Yeshua to do it with you. Like you become one with him and then you focus on them. That's the only way to do it. If you try to do it on your own, you will also function a lot in your soul. So that's why it's important to do it with him so you function in the spirit, you know.
I think I am I'm going to have to go back to the session on oneness and use that as my foundation
I think that would
because
be wise. Yeah.
yeah, because I know I am becoming more and more confident in literally speaking out to myself when I have or when I get prayer requests on our church's WhatsApp group. I'm literally saying to myself, no, can't pray for that, can't pray for that, can't pray for that. So I'm kind of like dismissing them in a way, but not to be dismissive. And that's because in my heart, I keep thinking, I can't really pray for them like I should. And the other thing is, when they ask for prayer requests for big issues, let's say in the nation or this and the other, I always feel I just can't do that. And I've always felt like that. And this is why I said I've got like a blockage in my prayer, in my heart or something to just bring people in or even to pray for certain requests that comes in, or even to pray for, let's pray for the nation, is like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that.
Okay, I think part of it is you might actually be paying attention to your spirit and what your mandates are. You just don't, you're not thinking of it like that, but that's what you're feeling. Because that's the same thing that I do. I have people say, we have to pray for Israel. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's a very good thing to do. But I don't have a mandate for it. I can't because I don't have a mandate for it. And so I can feel whether I'm supposed to or not. But I will say this, I have been surprised a few times with like, I had this lady who I had never met before. And she asked me to pray for her dad who was dying. And in my mind was like, yeah, right. I don't even know him. There's no way that I'm going to be able to do this. But I'm like trying to be nice. So I say, okay, I'll ask the Lord. So I engage with the Lord to see, and I'm fully expecting nothing. And I saw all sorts of stuff about her dad. And I feel way more connected to her dad, who I've never met, than her, because the Lord created that connection. And I started ministering to him. He started healing. And I still feel connected to him in the spirit, which is years and years later. It makes no sense. So sometimes he will surprise you with what your mandates are, even if you feel like, yeah, right, there's no way. This isn't in my wheelhouse. This isn't who I am. I don't know them, whatever. Sometimes it is really worth it to just say, okay, Yeshua, is there anything here for me? You know what I mean? And don't feel guilty if you don't feel it. Just know, like, there's a time and a place, and it's not for everyone. I mean, I say this all the time, and maybe you've heard it. So if you have, please forgive me. I know Fair has. Hi, Fair. Um,
Hello.
Because Fair has probably been a part of every single thing I've ever done. um, but um, I think back to the Lord really taught me a lot through this passage about do you remember the crippled man who was at the beautiful gate? And he
Just
was
this week, the Lord has been talking to me using, oh, this week. Yes.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, then maybe this is for you. So the Lord showed me, how he was begging, and he'd been begging there for like 30 years or something, it says. Which means, by the way, I don't know if you know this about the temple and everything, but it was the only way you could go in. So there's not like many different gates to get into this. It's like the only way. So Yeshua had to have passed by him 1 million times. Okay, not really 1 million, but a lot of times. He would have had to and not healed him for him to still be standing there begging. Then the disciples come and he's asking for money, and they're like, silver and gold we don't have, but in the name of Yeshua, be healed, right? And he then was able to go inside because you couldn't go inside if you were a cripple. So he never could go in. But now he's healed and he can go in. So now he went in and he started sharing with everyone about his healing and what it was through Yeshua, even though Yeshua wasn't there, right? But what the Lord was telling me is that not everyone is called to heal people all the time. It is not. I could be waiting for 30 years for my healing, and the right person hasn't come along to heal me. And it could be for them, or it could be for who I'm going to talk to in the temple after. Why it's this timing and why one person is called to and not another, that is all on the Lord in every situation. And so we can't feel guilty if we can't heal somebody. If the Lord isn't calling us to heal somebody at that time, we just will trust that he knows the timing and he knows what's supposed to happen. And so that's, I guess, what I wanted to say is that it's not for us all the time.
I'm glad you said that.
I feel like that passage, it's the Lord just taught me so much through that, because I carried so much guilt for a long time with, well, I was praying in faith. How come it didn't happen? Or whatever. I mean, or, but they're asking for healing, and shouldn't I know you want healing? Whatever. I was doing all sorts of weird things with the Lord, and me like projecting my will onto being his will. And it's because everyone does that. Everyone says, well, by his stripes we're healed. So if I just say those words, then that means that they're going to be healed now, because that is the Lord's will. Yes and no. That's how it is. It's not always what we think it's going to look like. And so, anyway, I could go on for hours about this, but
No, but it is important you sharing that, because we've got a conference, or had a conference this week, as in yesterday, and continued this morning, and it was on like deliverance and such like, but not deliverance as in old school deliverance.
yeah.
But at the same time, aspects of my past uh, come back, and the preconceived ideas that I have is, once you pray for someone, the expectation is they should be healed. Even though he said it is about God's timing as well, and he mentioned about, I heard something this morning about when his mother said, can you turn the water into wine? And he said, well, this is not my time to do it. you know so there is that, but because the past um theology of God is so deeply ingrained in my system, even when I'm hearing present day truth, past theology is kind of knocking that out because the paradigm is so strong.
Mm.
But you repeating this, like, and I'm hearing it for the second time, is reminding me. So, me saying I need to go back to listening to oneness again reinforces the fact that I need to listen to something and engage something repeatedly for it to chuck out the old stuff and become a new paradigm, a renewed mind.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for telling me again.
Sure. If I were you, if you recognize those old systems that are trying to sneak back, I would bring it before the Lord and ask him to smash it, like demolish it, that you don't want anything to do with that anymore. Because if that keeps happening, it's like tearing down a wall and then allowing the enemy to rebuild it. And you just can't do that. You can't allow it.
Yeah.
And if you struggle to see it or get rid of it or whatever, you have to bring that before the Lord and have him do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, there is a breakthrough angel. I don't know if we've talked about these breakthrough angels, but I was just reminded again to tell you that there's a breakthrough angel that can cut these chains that are on you. And so you might engage the breakthrough angel as well.
Thank you for reminding me of that. I didn't remember that.
Okay.
I need reminding to always. Oh, that's why
because you're my daughter. See?
Well, when you keep saying, "Oh, I
actually
apologize if I've said this to you before," it's like, it doesn't matter. Say it again. I need to hear it again.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I always feel bad because I have kind of I can't say it's a bad memory. I just my memory is very strange, and I remember very few things about what I've said to whom. And so only when the Lord brings it up do I have good memory. And so it is really good in him, but it's quite crappy on my own. And so I'm sorry. Anyway, that's why I will repeat things like an old woman. And so that's why I always apologize for. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are so tired of hearing the same things, I'm sure.
And even when you share it again, it's a bit like watching a film. There's another bit that you would realize that you'd forgotten or you didn't remember or you didn't quite grasp. So just hearing it again, just like, yes, I have a better understanding now. And the third time, I have a deeper understanding. The fifth time, I know that story now.
That's awesome. As you were saying that, like I really felt it actually. I was like, yes, it is like a film. Like when you've already watched through it and you didn't catch the things that were like the clues, and then you watch it again, you're like, that was there the whole time. Yes. Anyway. So, Glee, did you have anything that you wanted to share about your spiritual mother and father stuff? I don't know if you guys did the homework. I hope you did since you had a couple weeks, but
Yeah, it's more like for me it's an experience as well. Like how do I say? I haven't done it on paper, but yeah, I honestly was not really able to fully engage that part. But when I asked the Lord, like honestly, I just asked him a while back. And I've already seen these people, like even my dreams, and I have the heart for them, but that's the thing that I also want to know. But I know that it's possible. Like they can be your friends first, right? And
of course.
then you have the mothering heart. Yeah, because that's the case for me. Like these two friends of mine, they're really, really like close to me. For this other friend, I was close with her since college. We've become best friends throughout like this past 2 years. And I kept like having this nudge to like that I'm a spiritual mother to her. I'm like, what? Like we're almost the same age, Like, and the Lord would tell me like it's not about the physical age. And there's another friend of mine, like she's younger than me, but yeah, I keep really, I don't know. She's not a Christian, but so that's one thing. I'm like, Lord, she's not a Christian, but I do know that she's gonna be a Christian, that kind of knowing. So, and we're gonna meet tomorrow. I'm like, oh, especially these days in my life, in my kind of training with the Lord, I don't really like hanging out with a lot of unbelievers, but then I know God is really like breaking that kind of belief sometimes when I'm under training, because sometimes I don't really want to, I just want my energies for myself. I just want my, how do I say, like my cleansing. I don't want to like battle a lot of things. But like the Lord really made me for this kind of things, like this kind, I can't even grasp, like, for example, the entertainment world, it's kind of part of my mountain and it's like very worldly out there and like God. So that's why I do feel like the training that I have is made for that. Like I'm battling with these kinds of things because it's for that. And some people don't battle these kind of things because they're not made for that. And so now that the spiritual motherhood for these two friends of mine has been revealed, it's like I know I'm ready for it. And I know that I've cuddled with, I've not been like as motherly as I was because I didn't know that I had that mandate for them. And we talked earlier, this one friend of mine, and she mentioned that to me, like, you know what? Whenever I'm with you, Glee, you really have that motherly vibe. And I've never heard that from other people. It's just her.
That's
So
funny.
it kind of like confirmed to me like, oh, maybe because I'm called to mother her. And I had a dream that, yeah, and I had like that dream last. I kept dreaming about her, like she's in my dreams, like we're doing some random things, Christian or non-Christian. I'm like, okay, I think this confirms. I'm just trying to like, I think God is like just bursting out my bubble I've always been the type to not really, be religious, but maybe because lately I'm just trying to heal that I don't want to be involved with some unbelievers that much, but I know God is really opening this door for me with my friend. And yeah, it's just amazing because she really looks to me like for somehow mentoring as well, but I know it's also like the mother
Yeah,
aspect in the spiritual. So yeah, I think that's it.
that's
And
cool.
I want to tell Pearl about my experience as well. Like because I was struggling a lot with before I met Christine, I was also like that. Like in 2017, I was like, oh, I had this embedded theologies and religious stuff. One day I had this awakening, and it was so funny because I was like one of the top people who prays for people. I was in the prophetic. I was like almost in the, I was like the right hand of the prophet in our church. You know what I mean? Like, and then one day,
I think I really need to hear what she's saying because it's the second time she froze when she's about to say that really important
I
thing.
know.
But while she's frozen, Christine, um, the couple of things. So if I start feeling compassion for someone, for example, the one I'm supposed to be mothering, could that be like a little nudge from the Lord that this is the person I should be mothering or not?
I mean, it could be. I think when you feel that, just ask.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I've just written down. I
I
asked
mean,
the Lord.
yeah. I guess I don't know how you function, but like for me, I can feel compassion for all sorts of people
Yeah.
because I'm very feeler. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so it doesn't always mean I'm supposed to mother them. It just could even mean I'm a sucker. So like um I think it's different for everybody, but for sure if you're feeling that, ask the Lord, am I supposed to mother this person? Is this, you know?
And the other reason why I thought it I'm probably getting a bit of connection that it might be mothering, even though I said she is more my sister, and that is because she's a new Christian, then I automatically see her as my sister. But she looks to me, both of them, they look to me for a lot of spiritual input.
Mhm. No, that's how it should be. I mean, that's what a spiritual mother is. And
Right.
you know, I think that Fair got to
Yes,
come to the Refresh conference.
I did. I got to hug
Um,
on some people I haven't seen in 4 years.
I know. Probably some that you haven't ever.
Yeah, I
Um,
did.
so you met Ricky there, right?
Uh-oh, I don't remember that name.
You don't? Okay.
Okay.
He looked like a young kid.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so he is what I would consider, and he would consider this too, I'm sure, um, my spiritual son. Um,
Okay.
I met him when I was his youth pastor and he was 14.
Oh,
And um and he was not a Christian. Okay. Like um he was one of these little skateboard kids and I was
oh,
supposed to build a
sorry.
youth group. Oh, Glee, you're back. Good.
Yeah,
Um
sorry about that.
okay, so what you were saying was quite important. You got cut off right before you were going to
Yeah,
say it.
yeah. I'm
I would
sorry, the
rather
internet went
you
down.
finish and let me finish later. Okay. So,
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I remembered like before I met Christine, I was so like, Lord, I know I meant to do something more because I was already like grieving. I'm there. People are piling up to ask for my prophecy and prayers because I function as a prophet. Like I have that mandate as well, and I would grieve a lot. I would really grieve. Like, oh my, I don't. My heart is like my spirit is like grieving, And then one day, not that I'm discouraging church, of course, we go to church, but there are days where like the Lord didn't want me to go. Like literally, I'm all dressed up, and then I go out of the house, and then literally, I feel like my feet is being pushed back. Like it's supernatural. Like I remember those times that the Lord just didn't want me to go to church for that time because I was really like not being led in my prayers. I was just praying and praying for people, like everybody. And that's when the deconstruction started, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? Who am I gonna pray for? And like the Lord wanted me to rest and really like come from a place where I'm just led. And then I met Christine, and everybody confirmed, oh, I'm still on the right track. And it's really a process, the deconstruction of the religious system. And even now, until now, I'm still being deconstructed, but it's not as worse as it was before, where I feel so guilty about the new things that I'm absorbing. Like right now, I'm like, whatever, the Lord will just confirm or not confirm if what I'm engaging is his or not. So I think it's really a practice and just continuously and relentlessly just going for us, even if you're afraid of being deceived. And the Lord will just be like, I'm the one who's gonna, yeah, it's really a training. I just recently got restored with that. But in the process, it was also, I really doubted a lot as well. But I think the more you just keep doing it, like, because I'm the type, I'm also the type of person, like when I'm into something, I do it radically. Like I would spend 1 month just doing that. I don't want to be distracted. I don't hang out with my friends. I'm like that type of person. I can be really like, I don't know, all or nothing. So I think that's why sometimes it gets faster. So yeah, I think sometimes it depends on some people, but yeah, if you want to really have breakthroughs, I do get um sometimes to be radical about it. That's just me, but yeah, everyone's different.
Well, you're obviously not that different because Christian said the same thing the last time, and it sounds like
Yeah. Practice,
stereo.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But
Oh
I'm
yeah,
really,
faith comes from hearing. Yeah. You'll
yes.
get it eventually. Yeah.
And it's really lovely of you to say that, how much you were struggling and how you were there. And for Christine to also kind of like remind to say it as well, because sometimes with me being on this journey, when I'm struggling, it's so nice when I hear people like yourself say, yes, I used to be like that. So it's like, okay, I don't feel so
Definitely.
bad,
You don't feel
because
alone.
if they
Yeah.
can go through, yes,
Oh,
and
it
it's
was so
okay.
hard. It was so hard because your mind is really, it feels like you're um sometimes I cannot sleep. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm overthinking about it. Like, but yeah, God is still very, how do I say, when you're so into Him, it's just gonna get better, I would say. Very much progressive, yeah.
Mhm.
I think the deconstructing is so very important to move us forward. And I was thinking this even when, when I said, ask the Lord to demolish the box or whatever it is. Um, One of the main times that come to my remembrance that he demolished this box for me, um, I always think I don't have him in a box. And then he demolishes the box. And then I'm like devastated, kind of, but in a good way. And, uh, and realize, whoa, I have way more deconstructing than I think. And this, one of the main times that this happened to me was surrounding this whole thing with Sophia. So it's really interesting that we're having this discussion because that has to do with you. And I didn't know it had to do with you at the time, of course. And when the Lord started showing me this stuff that had happened and why Yeshua even came to restore things and how it had to do with these, I don't know, it's just this extra biblical revelation, is what I would say. The stuff that is nowhere found in the Bible, but is coming directly from God. When that happened to me, I just was like, I can't process this. I don't know how to fit this in a box. I couldn't say this to anyone because they're going to know I'm a heretic. And you know what I mean? Now you can't see. I wish you could see my printer. I have a printer right here, and I have the sticker that says verified heretic on it. And now I'm proud of it. Okay. And which is strange. Everyone else would think it's horrible. I even one time, a long time ago, when my sister and Jason first got married, Kim said something. I don't know what it was. And Jason called her a heretic. And I was like this roaring lion. I'm going to kill him, because she was much younger in the faith. And, you know what I mean? She's not where she is now. And so I was like, you never say that to my sister. How dare, all this. Now I'm like, we're heretics. It's good. It's fine. But I think the deconstructing has to happen. It is so, so very uncomfortable. But it is so important. If the Lord doesn't demolish the box, we cannot step out of it. And we have to understand that we are only seeing this much of him. And so there's so much more of him. We have to be able to receive. And we've closed our minds because of Christianity. And I say that it's strange to say because I know I consider myself a Christian, of course, because I follow Yeshua. But Christianity in itself has kept me in a box real bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's not like any one person is doing this. It has to be the spirit of religion behind it all, because I can't even tell you like who taught you this theology that you're holding tight. I don't know. I don't even know. Did anyone tell me you have to die to go to heaven? I don't know where that came from. Like, it's not like someone got up and did a sermon about it, So somehow these ideas and these religious things that we've been taught are just part of the culture. And it's something that we have to go, wait, I have to bring heavenly culture. I have to bring that spiritual mothering. I need a spiritual mother. All of us need these things. Fair got to be at this conference where one of my spiritual fathers, he was leading worship. And I don't get to work together with him very often. So it was very special for me. But he and his wife raised me in the faith when I was young, taught me intimacy, all of the super basic things that have been a foundation to my faith journey. Now I'm further than he and his wife in the faith. I don't think I would say that to them as to be respectful, but I have surpassed them, but I know they're proud of me for it. Like I know they are, because I'm not one who fell off and now is some crazy heathen in jail. I'm not saying that all people in jail are crazy heathens, but you understand. That's not where I landed. I went further in the faith. And that's what we want for all of our children. When we raise children in the natural, we want them to do way better than we ever did. Please, can I just not let them have my parental experience and then give them something that can make them be more awesome? And so that's what we want. for our spiritual children is, please let me not create this religious system of craziness. Let me be able to give them a foundation that's real and wonderful so that they can flourish and be way better than we could ever be. And so when you are finding these spiritual daughters and sons, keep pouring into them as long as the Lord says, but also know when to let go and let them fly. Because I'm not mentored by Jonathan anymore, even though I still consider him a spiritual father of mine, I'm not mentored by him at all anymore. And it's good because now we're more like equals. And that's how it should be, right? So it's okay. You just have to learn when to be paying attention in the spirit to them and when to let them fly. And it's
so silly question now.
Yeah.
I meet with two other ladies, or three, as part of my church's system, where we are accountable to each other, we share things, we pray together, etc. And in this triplet, there is this lady that I can't look up to because she is more mature in the Lord.
You can look up to?
That I do look up to.
Oh, okay.
Because she's more mature in the Lord. Would she be my spiritual mother? Second question. I look up to you. Are you my spiritual mother, or are you more of a sister to me?
This is a very good question. I would say just because you look up to someone doesn't mean they're your spiritual mother.
She pours into me.
That's
and
good.
She encourages me. She's very good at what she does.
Yeah. Well, I would say that she's spiritually mothering you. Then if that's what she's doing, it's like mentoring. It's the same sort of thing. It's just more of a familial type of relationship, I think all of you in my classes, I feel like a spiritual mother to. I would say everyone who's in my class, well, I don't know, like Hazel hasn't been around for a while. I don't know if I would say that about her right now. Not saying that's a bad thing, but for me, I have to have like some sort of consistent pouring into the Lord has me engage over you, stuff like that that makes you one of my spiritual children, if you know what I mean. But I think we're also sisters, so there is an aspect of sharing with one another and encouraging one another. It's kind of like I think of Soren, my son. Okay. I'm for sure his mom in every way, but there are times when I am sharing my struggles with him, and it is not something that I'm not burdening him by it. So there's no sort of burden that's happening where we're switching roles, which can happen. But that's not happening. We're walking together in things. He's carrying some of my load. Hey, I need him to be the guy that takes out the trash, locks up the house, stuff like this. So in those ways, he's acting more like a brother than a son, because he's kind of coming alongside as a partner with me, right? But he's still my son. And even though the roles kind of shift and change, and we're also friends, we also like watching TV together, just entertaining. It's nothing that I'm pouring into him, I think it's the same with the person who's mentoring you. And for me, there'll be times when you're like ministering to me, and you might be mothering me in that time. More likely, we're just sisters, and we do this together. And I think all of us, we are brothers and sisters in Christ. That is the reality of who we are. We have one real Father. Our one Father trumps everything, I would never say, oh, this person I will listen to above the Father. And I hope you never say that about me. I absolutely hate when people say, but Christine said, just shut the hell up. That is not how it's supposed to be. Okay. It is supposed to be that you are listening to the Lord only, that these other people are just voices to move you forward into relationship with Him, and they never come above. And I do not like when, this is my personal opinion. Okay. Everybody can share their own. I don't like when people say you need to have a spiritual covering. Your spiritual covering is Yeshua. And
Amen.
the Father is who is above Him. And that is your spiritual covering. You don't need to report into some other person. It is good for people to pour into one another, for sure. That is helpful. That's why we have teachers. This is why I do what I do. But never should that come above Yeshua. That should always trump. And I mean, hopefully all of you guys know that, but that's just, I really have a hard time with the apostolic movement because of that. Always about coming under an apostle and stuff. And yeah, it just makes me want to vomit. I don't like
Well,
that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Christine, because I was coming under that to some degree, and about having to have some spiritual covering, and especially the fact that my husband is not a Christian. And I distinctly sense the Lord beginning to nudge me by saying He is my covering. And I started in church, and sometimes when I pray, I started wearing a head, in fact, this sometimes. So when I go into church, I put this on, and I basically, this is my covering at church when I'm at church. And I would worship and for the whole service. Because every so often I keep hearing the Lord say, if you honor me by making me your covering, I will honor you. If you honor me, and this is simply an outward thing to say, Lord, I'm honoring you. And I remember I wanted to take it off one day, and it almost sounds like a weight was coming off by doing that. And it's like, I hope I don't turn like one of these like Muslim people or back in my church people where the church I was coming from is that women always have to wear a head covering. I don't want to be like one of those, Lord. You say to me, I'm only doing this because I'm sensing you to say that I should do it. So I'm glad you've clarified that in terms of we don't need anyone to be a covering, even though it might have mentioned something in the word, but Jesus is our heavenly covering. So thank you for confirming that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big deal to me. And I know that the Father made a big deal for me to have Yeshua as my rabbi and not a man. When I say a man, I mean like person. Yeah. Not a person. But that he's my rabbi. And that has been for me very important. And if you feel like you should wear a covering like that, pay good attention. I mean, do it, because that's something. There have been times when he has told me to do that, and it has been very important for my spiritual covering, literally. Very important. And so, yeah, just pay attention to that. And I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
Um,
No one has actually challenged me on it as yet, but I am a little bit of an oddball at church. I'll be honest. It's like I don't always behave in a way I think that they would like me to behave. And I'm not doing it just to show myself out.
Right.
I'm doing it, for example, when I worship. Oh my gosh, I worship the Lord And it's like, Lord, I remember the days when I used to dance for you in the club. And I just give you my body in church. And I just move in honor to you. And sometimes I'll see the angels dancing. And like yesterday, I got to a point where I said, well, I can't keep up with you anymore. I'm exhausted because I'm like worshiping with them.
That's cool.
So I am a bit weird in church.
Well, I'm sure it's not
Same.
actually weird. It's just weird for here. You're
Yeah.
bringing heavenly culture. That's what you're doing. Right?
For sure.
That's cool. Well, shall we shift into today's stuff?
I thought we were doing it.
Are we? I don't know. Well, I think actually, today we were supposed to talk about heavenly finance, and which is interesting because some of the stuff that Glee was seeing when we were engaging the heavenly classroom had to do with that. I don't know if you knew it had to do with that, but it does. In fact, the Lord was reminding me about some of the things because I'll tell you, I went back. This is always what I do. I've done these classes several times, right? So I have everything, every class is supposed to have a scribe. Our scribe for this class is never here anymore. And so, you know, that's not very helpful to me for this one. But generally, the classes have a scribe who is recording everything about what is happening in the class and the teachings, and then I get a copy of what the teachings were. And the father's the one who told me that that's what was supposed to happen in these classes. And so I always go back when I'm trying to figure out, okay, this is week 10. What's week 10? So I look back on the homework and I find week 10. Well, I could not find week 10 of, and I'm like, what is week 10? I've done this several times. How is there no week 10? So then I look back on all of the scribe stuff, not finding week 10. What is week 10? And I look back on I also have little graphics that I make for each video. You know what I mean? So every time I upload to YouTube, I put on one of those graphics so you don't see the preview as this, when I'm talking. And so it actually says like heavenly finances or something. And so anyway, I saw it was heavenly finances, but I don't have any notes on it. So then I'm like, okay, Lord, fresh revelation. What is it that you're wanting to release about heavenly finances? And he started speaking to me as we were engaging the heavenly classroom and reminding me of certain things. And then when Glee was talking, he was reminding me even more of what we're supposed to talk about. And so anyway, it's very important. Okay. Everything goes back to identity supply. I don't know if I've talked about this before with you guys, but I'm going to re-emphasize this. Everyone has a destiny scroll or a book of destiny, and you have lots of different mandates. You'll get lots of different scrolls in your life, whether you realize it or not. You may see it in your soul, and it may just be something your spirit knows and experiences. Whatever the case is, you have a lot that you're supposed to accomplish. The Father gives you a supply for everything that has to do with your identity. Everything you're supposed to accomplish, you have resources for. There is nothing you don't have that you need. Okay. In the heavenly realms. It also should translate to the earth. It's okay if you fall asleep, Lee. I will record this. Don't worry. Okay. I can see you're struggling. Don't worry. It's okay if you fall asleep. It's really late for her, you guys.
It's okay. I'm just listening while relaxing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, Um, but each of us have a certain supply that is there for us. We can go to the storehouse. Have we done a lesson on the storehouse? Do you remember? No.
No.
Okay, well, maybe that's in the next class. I can't remember what's what anymore. But there is a storehouse in the heavenly realms where you can go and receive anything. So when we're talking about finances, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about anything that is a resource that you need. Okay? Because, for instance, if I need for the Feast of Tabernacles, I need all of the supplies for tabernacles. I think I need money to go out and buy all of the supplies. The truth is, I don't need money to buy all the supplies. If I have stuff in my basement or other people have things, I can get all of these resources to build a tabernacle that I can use that doesn't have to come from money necessarily, right? That's how it is with us. We have things that we're supposed to accomplish. Sometimes we need money to go buy it from the store. Sometimes we need other resources to come in. A lot of us in this system in the world think we need to have a certain job to be able to get a certain paycheck to be able to cover all of our bills, right? That's what most people think. We have all these different things that we need. But what if your supply is supposed to come from different places? What if your supply is supposed to come from your identity and what you do supplies what you need? Not just what you do, but who you are. Okay. Who you are supplies what you need. So in the heavenly realms, we have these certain purposes. So for instance, I'm supposed to, I'll use this example since we just did it. We had this refresh conference. It may seem like, I don't know how it seemed to you, Fair. Did it seem like, oh, this was nice and easy? I'm guessing it felt like that because that's
It
how,
did. Yes.
okay, good. Because she was just one who came and attended, right? It's nice and easy, flowed smoothly, no big deal. Well, from my perspective, putting it all together, it's a whole bunch of freaking work with a million different resources. Okay. A lot of different things. You don't think about these things when you go and just attend something like this. But for me, I have to think of, okay, oh, where do I get all of the tablecloths for the 9 tables? And then each other vendor will need to supply their own tablecloths. And then that's just one aspect is tablecloths. So then I think, okay, where do I get giant tablecloths like these that go on these tables? Oh, I can rent them from over here. If I have to rent them, where am I going to get the money to rent them? Right. And so I think of all of these things. There are a million details in these sort of things. That's just one tiny thing, let alone every workshop we do. Okay. We have all these workshops. We have to have 16 different teachers. Right. So where are the teachers? What are they teaching on? What do they need? They need printouts of these things. All of these things are a million details to come together with all the resources that are needed. And just because I'm coming up with everything doesn't mean it all has to come from me. I can rely on other people's identity supply. So, for instance, I absolutely suck at decorating. Okay. It's mainly because I don't care. I don't care anything about decorating. It is just not in my, it's not my thing. All right. You could tell if you come to my house, it's like whatever. It's a little eclectic. Okay. This is maybe the living room looks a little better, but really, if you looked at my bedroom, this is where all things come of all the craziness of Chris. And so you can tell by stuff behind me. I have like a million different things. It's way more in my whole bedroom. But So for me, I have certain stuff, but I am not a decorator at all. Um, so we have to make this thing look nice because there are people who care about that stuff. And so then I go, oh, what do I do? I have this senior director in Mary Kay who absolutely is the best at this. She is gifted in hospitality in a big way. Strong believer. She grew up on the mission field. She has an event rental business to where she, for people's weddings or events or whatever, she helps come up with all of the decorations and stuff, anything that's needed, big or small. She loves doing it. She gets downloads from the Lord about what it's supposed to look like and all of this stuff. And then I can rent it from her and give it back. So I don't have to store all this crap in my house. Right. And so every centerpiece that we had, she put together, she went and did this stuff because it's coming from her identity supply. This is her. Okay. So all I did is I rented it for a very small amount of money to bless her. But this was something that was so helpful to me because I could tap into her identity supply. And we talked about the difference, how she felt like for a long time, she felt kind of guilty in the church because she just struggled with the one-on-one talking to people or any kind of getting up on stage for anything. And she just was horrible at it. But she loves the details. All of these details she just thrives in. And the Lord shows her all this stuff. And I'm like, this is why we need each other. Because I have that, I'll get up on stage, no problem. Like that's like second nature to me. But doing the details of this stuff stresses me out. That is something that it is in the flesh if I'm doing it, and it's really cool to see how different people can come together with their own identities and get everything supplied. And so if you are struggling with something, you have to go, okay, Lord, if you're calling me to do this refresh conference, show me where I need to get these things. Even money. Where the heck am I going to come up with all the money to do this? It may not seem like very much fair, but it was like very expensive to do all of these things. So
I actually asked Kim about that. I was like, did y'all break even at least?
I actually don't know
Uh-oh.
because I wasn't in charge of all the trading or anything. So I don't know where we are on that stuff. So I'm hoping we at least broke even. But what I do know is that when the Lord calls you to it, He's the one who brings you through it. And I know that sounds silly. I have a lot of these things that the Lord has told me. If it's His will, it is His bill. And so this is absolutely, I depend on this. If He says that we're supposed to do this and this is what's supposed to happen and we're supposed to do it at this venue, because I am all the time seeking every detail from Him. Okay. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to do it? Where is this coming from? And He will show me every detail. If He doesn't show me the detail, He will show me who will get the detail. Does that make sense? So if that's the case, He will always supply what we need. And so then I have to go, okay, Lord, what do we need to do for the supply? Do we need to go to the storehouse? Are you going to show me who to go to? We have certain angels that we can go to who help with finances. Arias is one of them. You guys have all met Arias in our class. He has something to do with finance. So he will go and get people to donate. That's what he will do. I appreciate that stuff so much. I hate asking people for money. It is the worst for me. But this is something that he does, and he's great at it. There are also ways that you can go and release finances from heaven into the earth. And so you can go, okay, Lord, am I supposed to go to the treasure room? There are so many different places and things that you can do. We have relationship with it being silver and gold. There are also crypto beings. I know that sounds a little strange, but there are beings that, cryptocurrency. there are heavenly beings attached to each one of the cryptocurrencies as well. It might be like that with cash and stuff, different regular currencies in the earth. I just haven't met them yet. So I don't know that that's true, but ask, what am I supposed to do? How is this supposed to happen? In my life, I have a lot of ministry that I'm supposed to do. On paper, I am well below poverty level. Okay. When it comes to what I make financially, this is not a problem for me because the Father supplies all of my needs. Like, I feel wealthy. I don't always feel wealthy. There are times when I feel like a pauper, I'll admit, but I feel wealthy because I have everything I need. Every time when I'm like, how is this going to cover any of my bills? He always shows up. Always. He always supplies some sort of way for what I need, no matter what it is. And there are even things that I just want. And I'll say, Lord, I don't know how, but could this happen? One time I was I was driving down the road and I saw something like an animal cross the road, and all of a sudden I see it. So I swerve to miss, and then I overcorrect to get back in the lane I was supposed to be in. And I slammed into this curb. Well, somehow slamming into this curb completely destroyed my car. It was, I would say, totaled. It was already totaled before that from other things, actually, to be honest. So I was driving a car that had already been totaled but fixed, and so it was working fine. And so now this car is undrivable and it's already been totaled, so I don't get a payout for it. This is just, oh crap. And I remember I was waiting for a tow truck to come. And I just was crying to the Lord. I was also hurting because it hurt when I got in the accident. And I was like, Lord, I don't know how this is even possible, but is there any way you could give me an upgrade? That's what I said to him. Like, I just need an upgrade in my vehicle, because at the time the vehicle was workable, but too small. It was a 6-passenger where you had to climb in the back, but it was like you had to climb over these seats to get in the back. And my kids were now getting to be adult size. And so it was not really optimal. And so I just said, Lord, if there's any way, I know it's selfish, but could you please give me an upgrade? And I knew there was no way in the natural, because I didn't have any money for anything, let alone a new vehicle or a different vehicle or anything. But I just know Father loves me. And so I asked for that. And you know what? That day, someone found out that I had this accident, and they offered to buy me a new vehicle. And I could choose the vehicle. And it was like, what? No, you know? And the Father gave me an upgrade. And it was like, people don't do that. I mean, not usually, but it was such a blessing. And it was so obviously the Father. And He will supply everything you need and even everything you want, as long as it's not selfish, not like asking for a Lamborghini. I don't care about that. I want to get His will done in my life efficiently, comfortably. That's what I'm looking for. Is it always comfortable? No. But man, I have people who say, I don't know. How could I do this if I don't make as much money? And I'm like, yeah, it's easy. the Lord will supply every single thing you need. You really, it's hard to put yourself out there on faith for everything you need, but the Lord always, always proves himself. There's never a time when I'm like, well, can't eat today. I've never been in that space. I've never gone, well, kids, we're homeless now. I've never had to do that. The Lord always supplies every single thing I need. And it makes no sense. I one time had a financial advisor he was from the church that I was at, and he wanted to come and do his services. And I'm like, okay. And so he came and he's like, okay, so show how much you make, all this stuff. What are your bills? What are your expenses? And he's like, are you sure this is right? This doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I know it doesn't make sense. And he goes, how can you have these expenses and not make, and I'm like, it's the Lord. There is no way to explain that sort of thing. It's not going to look normal for taxes. I just get random donations at different times, and it's not like I have these list of donors or something. It's just random. Oh, you need this here, it's paid for. Oh, you need electricity. Oh, it's paid for. That just happens. And it is the Lord. And we have these certain things that we're supposed to accomplish. For every one of us, it's different. So for me, it's doing these classes. So I have to have Zoom. I have to have internet. There are certain things I have to make it happen. I have to have a computer that works. I have to have a mic, these things that lighting. I have to have certain things that other people don't have to have. You can get on your phone and do this. Well, I can't do that. That's not for me. But for me, I have to have these certain things. The Lord will provide every single thing I need for it, because that's what I'm supposed to do to accomplish his will. If you are supposed to, go and feed the homeless and you don't have any food to feed them, well, okay, Lord, where does my supply come from? If you have given me this mandate, what do I do, Lord? Show me where to go. Show me who to talk to. Show me where in the heavenly realms I need to release it from. Show me any angels that need to work with me. That's what you need to do, is go, okay, where does my supply come from? Because it is for sure supplied to you already. It is already there. We just have to access it. And most people aren't functioning in the faith to access it. And I include myself, okay? Because though I'm good 80% of the time, I have 20% of the time that I'm freaking out. And so that's real. I mean, there are times when I'm like, I can't do that. I don't have the money for that. How can I do this? And the Lord has to like slap me around a little bit and say, come on, honey, you got this. Have I ever let you down before? I mean, he has to say this to me all the time, because that is just like my kids. You know what? I am just like my Father in heaven. Because my youngest daughter, she really struggles with talking about money. And the reason is her dad is all the time freaking out about money out loud, and is all the time saying, we don't have money for this. We can't do this. We don't have enough. All the time, to where she is always stressed about money when it comes to him. But she knows that she can ask me for anything and I'll give it to her. And not in a way of spoiling, but like, Mom, I need new jeans. Okay. Do I know where I'm going to pay for the new jeans? No, but I know that I can get them. If she needs them, the Lord will supply them. And so there's a whole different way of functioning in my house, where everything that you need is supplied. There's never a time when it's not. I might say, well, I don't really have money right now, but let's ask the Lord. I know he'll give it to us. And so he does every time, every single time. There's never any time that he doesn't supply. And there's a different culture here because of it. She's not afraid to talk to me about that stuff, because this is something that she knows I rely on the Lord. And we celebrate every single week. Okay. We have a certain family dinner time that we have on Tuesdays, which I wish we had it every day, but this is something at least once a week we get together and we celebrate the wins. What are the wins? What are the good things of the Lord, the blessings of the Lord? And so when we do that, we always go back to where's the Lord supplied? What has he done for us? And when you practice that mindset, okay, because you just said, Pearl, I need deliverance from a poverty mindset. And then Fair said, I think I developed a complex about money from childhood. Okay. This is normal for us. Okay. I've done the same with both of those things. And it takes the Lord completely trading it. So you need to go to the trading floors. Okay. We know this is even attached to our classroom. I don't know if you guys know that. I don't know if I've said that, but Melchizedek is part of our class. He's the one who is kind of like the manager of the trading floors. So it is attached to our classroom. If there is something you need to trade, like this poverty mindset, for instance, you got to do it. This is something I am so grateful that the Lord had me do this one time. Wasn't even at some normal Christian event. It was a business event. The guy who was leading it happened to be Christian. And he was saying, you have to trade in your bad mindsets for something that God has for you. He didn't even know about all this trading like I know about. And I was like, oh, he's right. So I knew I was struggling with this mindset of I won't have enough. That's what the Lord brought up. It was like, this is what you need to trade. And I'm like, okay, Lord. So I'm thinking I will trade it for I have enough. And he said, no, you have more than enough. And so I had to trade my I don't have enough for I have more than enough. And at this little conference, the Lord wanted to prove to me what he had just traded. And it was so cool, you guys. It was the strangest experience, but I had brought Soren with me to this little business conference. And it was really, he was young. And I was doing it because I was just trying to teach him, and it's part of the homeschooling thing. Just bring him along to all the things to learn. And so anyway, he was with me there. And one of the things that they were doing is I had a friend who was the organizer of the conference. And so she was selling raffle tickets and stuff to help make up the amount that they needed to have this thing. And so anyway, I knew that that's why she was doing it, where no one else knew. They were just like, oh, fun raffle. Cool. We'll win stuff. Well, so a bunch of people donated things to raffle off. And so I was like, I'm going to buy with my last $20, I'm going to buy raffle tickets. And so I wanted to do that for her. And so I did. And of course, Soren is so excited about the raffle and giveaways because he's a kid. And so now they had all these different things out that were being raffled. And the kind of grand prize one was this weight management system, which I used. And I wanted this weight management system because I actually needed it. I needed it at home to replace what I had that I didn't have enough of, right? And so I am like, please, Lord, if there's any way, that's the one I want. I need that one. Okay. Now, he had just had me trade, I don't have enough for I have more than enough. And here is what happened. The first raffle they did was of this magazine. And they call my number. And so Soren goes up and gets the magazine. I was like, well, that's nice, but I really wanted the other, but at least I won something. And then they were doing another magazine. And so they called another number that I had. And I'm like, okay, I don't need another magazine. And so thanks, Lord. And so I was like, okay, Lord, no more magazines. They did another magazine. I did not win, thankfully. But then they did another, and it was this canister of stuff. And I was like, oh, that would be nice. And they called my number again. And I'm like, they're going to think this is rigged. I have like hundreds of people. I've won now 3 times. I mean, I only bought $20 worth of tickets. I mean, I don't know how many there were, but yes, I had a lot of tickets, but it wasn't like way more than everybody else. And so anyway, I won that other one again, and Soren went up. And then all of a sudden, I had just watched Grant Mahoney. Do you guys know who Grant Mahoney is? I really like him, or I did anyway. I haven't listened to him in years, but anyway, I had just listened to this thing where he was wanting to win this car on some auction, and so he got on the computer, and um, and then he saw himself going through this door into the future to bid on it and win, and he won. And then he like came back, and then he did exactly what he saw, and he won the bid. And so I was like, that is really interesting to engage the timeline like that. And so I was like, Lord, could I go through this door into the future to win this weight management system? And the Lord was just like, no, you don't go through a door. And it was more like for me, like Grant goes through the door. You don't go through a door. And so, but for me, what he did is all of a sudden I got this vision of our number being drawn, and Soren going up to the front and getting this great big thing in his arms. And then I'm like, okay, now back to reality. And they call the number, and Soren goes up and gets this weight management system. And what happened right after that is the Lord just said, see, more than enough. And it was like, this is not enough. This is more than enough. You got way more than enough. And he was just proving it to me. More than enough. You have more than enough. And so it made such an impression on me that I went home and I was like, you wouldn't believe what happened. This is more than enough. This is what he's having us trade. And so I was telling my husband, and so all of a sudden we're having faith for more than enough, and it changes things. We got down to where right after this again, we had barely any food in our kitchen. We had like half a loaf of bread and stuff that wouldn't go with it. You know what I mean? Like you're having ketchup in the refrigerator and, stuff that just doesn't go together, and it's not enough for food. And so I'm like, Lord, you said more than enough. That's what I said to the Lord. That's it. Lord, you said more than enough. Within an hour, this couple from our church knocked on our door and said, the Lord told us to go and buy groceries for you guys. And they came in with so many groceries, it literally would not fit in our kitchen. All of this food, and as Dustin's putting it away in the refrigerator, he had this drawer open and he's like, more than enough. More than enough. And it was like, wow, more than enough, like way more, and these are the things that the Lord wants for us, is to be able to, whatever he's telling us to do, even if it's just feeding our family, that's a mandate. It's part of your identity. You're supposed to be that. More than enough. He wants us to have this identity supply that we are confident of, that we don't wonder if we have supply in our identity, that we know for sure we do. Amen. More than enough food and anything we need. Absolutely. It isn't just about food or cars or whatever it is. It's whatever you need. Do you need big canvases for some piece of art you're supposed to do? Okay, Lord, if that's what I'm supposed to do, where is it coming from? I'm depending on you. What do we do? Mindset is first. You have to know you're a king and that he has certain plan that needs to be accomplished in the earth, and he has asked you to do it. And if he has asked you to do it, he will provide everything you need because it's on him, his will, his bill. Right? Now, if you're trying to step out of his will, you probably aren't going to have the provision. You know, I can't imagine the Lord would provide for you to step out of his will. But if it's anything that he's called you to, even if it's just existing, he will provide. He will provide everything you need and more than enough. But trade in those shitty mindsets, please. Like, get rid of that stuff. It is not that stuff that was ingrained in us from whatever silly trauma or what has happened in our society. Oh, you have to work in order. We have gone back to the garden, you guys. We are eating from the tree of life. We no longer have to toil and labor for our supply anymore. Okay? That doesn't mean be lazy. I'm not trying to say that. But we don't have to. It doesn't make sense how I have all my supplies need and I mean all my supplies met and all of my needs met, but it happens because it doesn't depend on my labor, which is so cool. You know, okay, last week, so the Refresh conference was very refreshing for everyone who came, but it was not so refreshing for me because I was in charge of everything. And it was a bit exhausting. It was wonderful, don't get me wrong, but it was exhausting. And I had taken off of I do private appointments during the week, you know, for my main source of income and also main source of ministry. That's what I do. Well, I had to take off, I'll like block off my private appointments for last week to be able to get everything accomplished for the Refresh conference. So I knew, okay, sacrifice income. It's okay. The Lord will provide. But I knew I had to get back to work, you know, come Tuesday or something. Well, I did a couple appointments Tuesday and I was still exhausted and still had people in town who were expecting me to take them around and be tourist guide. And so anyway, so I was doing all the things and still finishing Refresh stuff. And I thankfully had a good friend who said to me, you need to take off this time and you need to rest and block this off your calendar. I'm like, I can't really do that. I have a family to provide for. I need to work. I can't like just not work for 2 weeks. And as soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like convicted, you know, that is not how the Lord works. And he just said, I want you to rest. How can you pour out if you haven't been able to receive from me? And it was just this obvious, you are not getting it. Priorities are not straight. And so I blocked off the rest of the week, which was hard for me because I have this like inner, I don't want to be lazy. I don't want to, you know, thing. I don't know. It's really weird. I don't know why I feel like that because I'm not lazy at all. But I have this strange thing inside of me that does that. And I blocked it off and it was what I needed. I needed to rest in him. I needed to get recharged and refueled so that I could pour out because I would be worthless today, because today is my first day back to work, if you will. I would be worthless today if I didn't do that. And I needed to know that my supply comes from him, not from what I do, not from working. My supply comes from him. And you know what? What? Go ahead, Pearl.
I'm really, really happy you're sharing this because me going away for our anniversary for 2 weeks, I have had to move some one-to-one tuition because that's my only source of income.
Yeah.
And even while I'm on holiday, I'm trying to work out how I could still have some Zoom sessions while I am on my anniversary break. So I don't have to give that money back or find the extra time to do it or to kind of manipulate it in some way so I don't lose as much over the next 2 weeks because I haven't got a lot of students anyhow. The meager amount I've got is like, how can I make this work? So you just saying that, I think, has released me.
That's
That,
awesome.
you know what? I'm not even going to try to fit in the students. It's so, yeah. So thank you for sharing that and being transparent. It's
The
really helped.
Lord will supply your need. And
Thank you.
it won't make sense how, but he absolutely will. And you don't have to stress about it. And you can go, okay, Lord, if you want me to spend this time and actually focus on my husband or whatever you're supposed to do, I'm depending on you. And just give it to him and say, okay, I'm depending on you. Super easy. He's our supply.
Amen. And to know that this session is today and we're going to the airport tomorrow. And at the end of this session, I was going to try and figure out how to email these parents and get some work together to send to them to kind of like keep going until, and it's like, oh Lord, I think I really needed to hear this.
Good.
I'll just phone them and say, you know what? Yeah.
Hey, well, you know what? Here's what I would like for us to do in our last 5 minutes. Um, let's just trade. Okay. If you have a bad mindset that is from the enemy that you need to trade in and get something different from the Lord, let's do that. Okay. So let's focus in now. Okie dokie. I hope you guys got something good out of today. I don't know when I will be able to get the recording and homework to you, but I will do it as soon as I can. Since I don't have the homework already written out, I will write out something, whatever the Lord leads today. Okay. So I hope you have an awesome week and a great time away with your husband, Pearl.
Yes. Oh.
And if you make it to class, great. And if you don't, great. Whatever the Lord leads, okay?
I'll find out the time difference. So as much as possible, I'll try and make it. But thank you if I can't.
Where are you guys going?
St. Lucia, 25th anniversary.
Oh, outstanding.
I'm pretty sure you are Eastern time in St. Lucia.
I'm almost 100% sure we are.
Yeah, me too. I remember I have such a heart for St. Lucia because one of my very favorite people in the spirit, her name is Nadia. She worked with Kim and me all the time in the spirit, such a powerhouse. She was from St. Lucia and she passed away and is still absolutely functioning with us in the spirit. So actually, it wasn't really bad. I mean, it was strange because it was a very sudden thing, but how she transitioned to be just functioning almost exactly the same in the heavenly realms with us has just been awesome. So, yeah, anyway, I'm excited for you to go there.
Thank you. And what's your time zone again, Christine?
Central. So we are, Eastern is 1 hour ahead of us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because my signal, I had to change my phone again. And it then lost all the information I've had on Signal from previously. So I'm like worse than I was before I did it 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I'm not even going to stress about it. It'll be fine. So you're 1 hour ahead of St. Lucia.
I'm trying to double check. Actually, no, they are 2 hours ahead of us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so here we do it at 9 a.m. So it would be 11 a.m. in St. Lucia that you have class.
Bless you.
All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye. Great class.
Bye, Christine.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Faye. Bye, Faye.